Good morning and welcome to the Last Night's Game podcast. I'm your host, Amy Butchon-Siegfried, and today we were talking all about love. We were talking about love between athletes. Now, we have covered this story a couple times, but we've brought in some new perspectives this time. And here to share some of these great stories to fuel your Valentine's Day is my co-host, my brother, my co-founder, Scott. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on. We're going to highlight, as you said, various athlete relationships going on currently in the world of sports, maybe some retired athletes as well. They're at the top of their game on the field and off the field ahead of Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there's actually it was a picture right when the Chiefs won the one that they go into the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
It was I saw one that was, it's Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and some photographer in the background. And it was like Valentine's Day couples, me. And it's like, I feel that is a very true statement. I'm not a big Valentine's Day fan. Are you?
No, doesn't. I guess, and we just start off like the ultimate power couple right there.
Yeah.
Taylor,
that's true. I guess
Travis.
We actually didn't talk about that one in our free notes.
We totally skipped over them, but yeah, they're both pretty popular, I think. So
I think so. I think I've heard of them, but they're not two athletes. So there's that.
That's true. Well, she's pretty 3-hour concerts running around.
Yeah, I mean, yes. If you saw that woman run in Louis Vuittons, you would think that she's an athlete for sure. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want to ask you, and I want to start off because this actually came up because I didn't know all the background to this. I would call this one of the more modern couples in sports. And if you don't know Carson Beck or Hannah Cavender, we'll explain them to you. But this story is really juicy because it comes down to maybe a big career-changing decision for him to be with her. So give us a little background about these two, because I think this one's one of the more interesting stories of this list.
They're certainly a modern couple with social media and being experts in that and really feeding off NIL money as well. The Cavender twins are two female basketball players. They both started at Fresno State, and then they kind of took off on social media, followers and TikTok and whatever else you want to do. Snap face and whatever Belichick says.
Is that what Belichick?
Yeah, it's a Belichick thing.
I was like, you're not that out of date.
No, I'm not. Close, but I'm not. And they really took over. Social media really brought them to the forefront, being at, not a Power 5 school in Fresno State. And they were able to obviously build their online profiles and able to transfer to different schools to play basketball. They went to Miami. One went to TCU after that, then back to Miami. So they're both in Miami now. And that's where that brings in Carson Beck, who was Georgia's starting quarterback for the past few years, NFL prospect. He got injured in, I think, his SEC championship, maybe. Hurt his elbow, has to have surgery, declared for the draft, decided not to go to the draft and transferred to Miami.
Can you do that? Once you declare for the draft, are you allowed to change your mind?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay,
there's a certain cutoff date. He did it pretty quickly, realizing probably that this elbow surgery wasn't going to be a good thing for the NFL.
Probably not.
So that was, I don't know if we need a whiteboard to connect all those dots.
Yeah, so the girls are in Miami.
Yes.
He leaves Georgia, and I just remember
I think they were dating before he left Georgia, from what I've gathered, yes.
So from what we can piece together, Miami happened to maybe provide a little NIL incentive for him to move to Miami. So very quickly after his announcement of the draft and then he was going to have surgery, he changed his mind and decided to go to Miami to play there in football, where his girlfriend happens to go. And they have posted he's very awkwardly uncomfortable on social media, where she clearly is not. And Hannah is his girlfriend. He clearly is not very comfortable on social media. And so the best thing I saw, and I just said it to you before this, Haley, Hannah's sister, is dating a Dallas Cowboys player. And the two guys showed up to the girls' basketball game, and they're wearing Cavender twins T-shirts, matching Cavender twin T-shirts. And the caption on the photo of the two girls with the two guys is something along the line of point of view, now they're the wags, which wives and girlfriends. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting, maybe he wasn't ready for the NFL. This is not my area of expertise, but it does seem like a big, interesting choice to all of a sudden declare for the NFL and then say, no, wait, you know what? I'm going to go to Miami for a year and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think he was ready for the NFL
Got it.
if we're being realistic. So
it might have all worked itself out.
NIL money helps. I think he probably make more at Miami than he would his rookie year, getting drafted maybe out of the top 10 or so. So go hang out in Miami, I guess.
I guess so. And hopefully, I mean, no offense, he looks like he needs a little bit of a tan and maybe a little bit of coaching on social media, but he can pull that off. I'm confident that he has the right person in his life to do that. So
absolutely.
Now that's our sort of, I think, one of the more interesting stories when we kind of pull these together. But we have so many amazing couples who are both just phenomenal athletes. You know, what I want to talk about, I mean, I guess she's kind of semi-retired possibly at this point. Simone Biles and Jonathan Owens. Simone shows up at all of his games. She's in Jonathan Owens' jackets. She is dressed up. She is there as like, you know, the equivalent of, I would make this the equivalent of like the mom that goes to baseball games with like the giant button with their kid on their shirt, and the team shirt. I mean, maybe we may have one of those moms. I feel like she's the like really cute wifey version of that.
Absolutely. Fully supportive. And for being the most accomplished gymnast in the world, she's definitely all in on supporting her husband on the Chicago Bears now. So yeah, she's all in.
Yeah, she's all in. And I think it's really cool. So I have to ask the question. I don't follow the Bears super closely. Is Jonathan came over from the Packers this last season?
Yes.
What does he play? Position does he play? Is he any good? I don't know. I mean, there's no one's the GOAT. It's not Tom Brady, so we don't have a GOAT comparison. It's hard when your wife is the killer.
Yeah, I was going to say that the bar is set pretty high by Simone in this relationship. Absolutely. Yeah, he's a very talented player. He's a defensive back, so, you know, covering wide receivers and things like that for just basic terms. He signed a 2-year deal with the Bears last year, so he should be back on the team starting. And they have a new coach. They have Caleb Williams. They have all the potential in the world. But it's the Bears, so who knows what will happen. But he could be part of something special if Chicago goes on a run.
The Bears.
And we know Simone will be there as she ponders whether to dominate the 2028 Olympics or not.
Yeah, have they come out with the second half of her documentary, by the way? I feel like if they have it slid under our radar. Because remember, they were filming at the Olympics, and I don't feel like I've seen the second half of that come out yet. They did the first half.
That is a great question. I do not know the answer to.
I might Google that.
We'll have to do some research.
Yeah, most of that stuff doesn't slip by us, so I'd be shocked if it has. But I'll look while we chat. So we
Talk
have
to our
Simone
research
Biles.
department.
Exactly, research department. Can you get on that? Jonathan Owens, Simone Biles. Then we have. I want to kind of I want to go a little outside of the younger couples. Let's stick with Chicago, but I want to talk about the Swansons. They're probably one of the most athletic couples on this list. Give us a little rundown of the Swansons and Chicago's own Mallory Swanson.
So Dansby Swanson is the starting shortstop for the Chicago Cubs. He came over for the Braves, likely signed with the Cubs over a lot of people based on where I don't know if they were married at the time, but where Mallory was playing with the Chicago Red Stars. And they are kind of, at one point she was the highest paid player, but as we know, that doesn't last long in sports. Someone always comes in and signs a bigger contract. But they are like the Chicago sports power couple outside of, I guess, Simone and Jonathan. But they very successful. Mallory might be the more successful of the two at this point, winning gold medals and at the Paris Olympics with the soccer team. And she was part of the Triple Espresso, which became quite famous.
Who else was Sophia Smith and
Trinity Rodman?
Rodman, that's right.
All three of them just wreaking havoc on goalies and opposing teams.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. So their future is bright as well in Chicago.
Yeah, absolutely. In Chicago, holding it down there, Chicago. You got a lot of talent you pulled in there.
They are. We don't have a Bulls or Blackhawks relationship to talk about, but Cubs and Bears and Red Stars.
Okay, can you guys get on that, Chicago? We can do a whole Chicago podcast. We love ourselves in Chicago.
Let's do it. What do they have? NBC has like Chicago Med, Fire, and like PD or something. So we could have a whole Chicago relationship thing, just like that.
I'll come up with something creative at some point.
Yeah.
speaking of going back to, yes, Simone Biles' second half of her documentary came out in October, apparently. So I don't feel like it was very widely published because that's not something I would miss. I really enjoyed the first part. So that's on Netflix. So there you have that.
Then we have something to look forward to after football's over.
That's right. Let's see. Football's over. Baseball's getting ready to start. We have Shohei Ohtani. He's been in the news for the obvious interpreter gambling scenario, which was a whole hot mess. And he's really pretty quiet. So I'm sure that was almost painfully financially as it is from being in the public eye. We just found out at some point, like, he's married.
Yeah. I mean, he's, as far as celebrities and baseball players and athletes being celebrities, he is, for what he does on the field, pitching and hitting and signing billion-dollar contracts, he's extremely quiet and low-key off the field. One day he just randomly posted not even a picture of the woman. I think he just posted a picture and said, I'm married. And I believe the translated phrase was like, to a very normal Japanese woman.
I believe that sounds right, yeah.
And then internet sleuth, they did what they always do and found out who she was. She was a former Japanese professional basketball player. So
very normal.
The athletic genes in that relationship are very strong as well. And I assume one of the top couples from Japan would have to be my guess.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? They would be like, you've watched the David Beckham documentary about how he and Posh were just the royal family, essentially. Like, they were just taking over the media in the early 2000s. And imagine the Japanese media and these two. And maybe that's probably why he's so secretive and so quiet about stuff, because I'm sure that he is just a phenom over there.
Yeah, it's probably hard for us to even comprehend how popular he is over there. Just in the amount of media that comes here just to see them play, and the amount of Japanese companies invested in baseball because of him is pretty phenomenal. And there is a little Ohtani on the way as well. Which he secretly, weirdly announced without any notice. So their legacy will continue here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you were being followed by billions of people and you were being the skepticism that goes into it. I mean, you think about this, the conversations we all have to have with our families and things, like how that would just be so mind blowing to even think about, how you don't even want to reveal your kid what they look like, which is what a lot of celebrities do. They don't show their kids' faces. I don't show my kid's face on social. I have a couple, but they're old, just purely because I don't know. That's not how I want to operate. But it's really fascinating. So, we have those two who are legends, and on the other side of baseball, we have Paul Skeens, who is dating Libby Dunn, who is a LSU gymnast. He was an LSU baseball player. She is on Viore commercials. She's like one of the number one, depending on which time of year you look at the list, NIL in college sports. He was rookie of the year. He just had a rare baseball card that they wanted to auction off. And the kid who had it decided, he's from LA, and he decided, instead of taking this huge deal from the Pirates are offering up to this little boy for this unique rookie card of Paul Skeens. They were offering 30 years of season tickets in the suite with Livy Dunn. Like, all these things, softball games for your friend. Yeah. It's a pretty hard deal to pass up. Like, it's a pretty sweet deal. And the little boy who's 11 decided to auction off to benefit LA fire relief efforts, which is just absolutely incredible. It stinks for the two of them, for Paul not to have that card of his, which is which he could
technically buy for charity, right?
That's true. She could buy it for charity. Maybe it's a tax write-off. I don't know how that stuff all works, but I'm not your tax consultant.
That Viore money goes pretty deep.
That's true. I do love me some Viore. So these two are a pretty incredible pair, very talented. But you sent over their story, and she pursued him.
Yeah, Paul's also a pretty quiet guy, not as quiet as Ohtani, but he's not necessarily out there in the public-facing eye. I think that's probably because he was at Air Force and playing baseball for Air Force, and transferred for the last year to LSU. He was actually a catcher at Air Force. He didn't even pitch.
Really? I didn't know that.
And he transferred to LSU and ended up pitching and becoming the best pitcher imaginable. Throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. Nobody can hit him. And so obviously that caught Livy Dunn's eye. But Paul being Paul, I don't think that he was necessarily out there looking for, Instagram influencing. Yeah. And I guess he pitched on Fridays. They compete on Fridays. So they never really had a chance to meet each other until further down the line after she pursued him quite a bit.
Oh, interesting. It's a cute story though. And I think it's cute to see, and they're super excited, and they celebrate each other, which I think is really cool. I mean, that's what you see out of all these couples. They're celebrating each other, which I think is really, really cool. One couple, and I'm going to blank on her last name all of a sudden, but Hunter Woodard and Tara
Woodhall.
Yeah. You might remember them from the Olympics. He's a Paralympian track star. She runs a track, and I believe she won a medal in Paris.
Gold in the long jump.
Gold in the long jump.
Yes.
And the two of them are quite possibly the cutest things you've ever seen. There's videos, I think I reshared it during the Olympics, of him just like cheering her on from the stands and like how excited they both are for each other. And it's really cool to see that because, I mean, you're both competitors, right? This is both you both appreciate, because you get it, on how hard they work.
Yeah, and there's very few people that understand how hard it is to be a professional athlete, even an Olympian, which is maybe even harder because you only get to compete once every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference, he's Paralympics and she's normal Olympics. So there's a lot of crossover and competition between the two, but they obviously celebrate each other's success.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and it's cool to see them just get so excited about what each other's tackling, and it's very just cool to see. I love it. I love it. I love these stories when we get to get excited about someone kind of behind the scenes that we feel like we have an insight just a little bit into how they operate.
Yeah, he was in the Team Tara shirts when she was jumping, going crazy in the stands. I think that was probably the video we most likely shared.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It was really cool. I want to touch on a couple. They're retired, but
we do have a current one that was just in the news with the WNBA.
Oh, that's right. Yes, please. The WNBA off season has been ridiculously hot with trades. We've seen Brittany Griner change. We've seen Kelce Plum change teams. It's been so hot with trading. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And so we had Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, teammates for the Connecticut Sun. They've been extremely successful. Connecticut Sun's had a lot of success, but I guess it's maybe time to reset for the franchise. And these two got engaged as their teammates on the same team, playing with each other, which I'm sure that presents a lot of interesting situations, right? Yeah. Like you're dating your teammate, engaged to your teammate. Maybe she throws you a bad pass. Is that
maybe she gets more playing time than you do? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
So as you said, free agency is skyrocketing, and Alyssa Thomas was just traded to the Phoenix Mercury, which, might think that's going to cause some friction in the relationship, maybe. I don't know. Connecticut's pretty far from Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So, and sports is a business, as we know. So, rarely does it end. Very few people get to end the way they want to. And maybe she wanted a trade. And I guess the kicker is DeWanna Bonner is an unrestricted free agent now as well.
Okay.
So there is certainly a possibility that she can sign with Phoenix and they can reunite. Maybe a little bit warmer weather, perhaps.
Well, it's really interesting, too, because the WNBA, they don't have the breadth of teams that like the NBA has. So you end up playing the same teams quite a few times. And so that would just be really interesting to match up against your partner.
Yes.
And I don't know. I'm not a basketball player, so we all know that that's not my talent. But I mean, what if I'm trying to steal the ball from you and that kind of stuff? Like, does that mean we get home and you're like, I hate you? I don't like you tonight. I'll like you tomorrow, but right now I don't like you.
Like if you intentionally foul her, do you have to sleep on the couch? I don't know.
1000% you do.
There's a lot of things that can happen there. So I guess we'll see how that goes with maybe they reunite or maybe they don't. They'd rather play each other. Maybe get some aggression out.
Maybe so. Maybe it's like those boxing rings they used to have where couples could come in and box.
There you go. Couples therapy.
There you go. Well, we're actually a little bit over on our time, but I want you to have a chance to 1 minute to take a more vintage couple that aren't that are retired and give us your favorite non-active athlete love affair.
We're going to go half active.
Okay. That sounds good.
We had a lot of soccer theme on this podcast. We're going to go one more. So we had Team USA legend Julie Ertz. Mm-hmm. She was part of the immaculate run that USA had for that long period of time, fought for women's rights, equal pay, all that stuff. And she married Zach Ertz, who at the time was with the Eagles. He went to the Cardinals. And this past season, he was on the Commanders. He's a Super Bowl champion, so at least they're both champions.
That's true.
And she had about a lot of injuries, and then I think she ended up retiring to basically have kids. And Zach is still active at this point. He had an incredible season with Jaden Daniels as quarterback in Washington. Awesome. So he's still going strong, and certainly the athletic genes in that family are through the roof.
And I think they have 3 boys, if I remember correctly.
Is that what they're up to now?
I think so. They have a set of twins that were born in 2024.
Oh, there you go. And they met at Stanford baseball game.
Well, there you go. See, baseball's just a love affair for everybody in college.
There's a theme here: soccer and baseball.
Yes, or gymnastics and baseball. The couple I'm going to go with, I think it's an obvious one, but I think they're such just like Julie. Obviously, her teammates Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird. The two of them are legends in women's sports. They've been dating since the 2016 Summer Olympics, where they met. Which, I mean, forget that baseball game. We met at the Olympics. That's pretty epic. They've been on the covers of magazines. They're the first same-sex couple to grace the cover of ESPN's Body Issue. Sue Bird retired from professional basketball. She had a 19-year career. She has a multitude of gold medals. Megan Rapinoe, as we know, as a phenomenal soccer player, also has her fair share of World Cup wins, Olympic gold medals. She had a 15-year career. They have not slowed down, though. They now have a podcast called A Touch More, where they invite new and longtime women's sports fans to join them talking about the headlines and breaking down the sports landscape. So that's pretty incredible. And they're engaged. They are not married yet, but I did read somewhere that they wanted one hell of a big party. So they will not be eloping. They want to be able to invite all of their friends, which does not include us, but that's okay.
Not yet. Our
yet.
invitations have not arrived.
Have not arrived. But it's really cool to see, like I said, them evolve after their sport and after what they're really known for, and take that make it into something great. They have the podcast. They have the business called Together, which is a great media company with Alex Morgan and a couple other female athletes. It's cool to see what they're doing after their sport.
Yep, and they're two of the biggest legends in women's sports to this date, and they certainly paved the way for everything that's happening now.
Absolutely.
With the momentum.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope that you have a quiet Valentine's Day. I know I will not be out doing any of the 4-course dinners for Valentine's Day. I'll be hiding out at home. And I hope that whatever you do, you enjoy it. And wishing you all a happy Valentine's Day.